In this video, we are going to answer the question, what are the truth definitions for disjunction? Before we do that, and to facilitate our work, we're going to discuss what a truth value is, how propositional or sentential logic works with connectives, and then what an operator is. First, let's review what a truth value is. A sentence that is true or false is a sentence that has a truth value. So, the truth value is a sentence's truth or falsity. Aloysius or Stewie is a dog. Either Aloysius is not a dog or Stewie is. Brett and Al, or Walter and Horatio, are dogs. Notice that these sentences are governed by the disjunction. Now, the grammar that in the last example may leave you with some ambiguity. In other words, the fact that there's not another comma after the word or might make you wonder how to group the elements, but the way I read the sentence should make it clear that the disjunction, the or, is the main connective. Remember also that propositional or sentential logic deals with statements in terms of compounding by way of connectives. We have the negation, conjunction, disjunction, conditional, and biconditional. The common symbolic notations are as follows. And remember, we're dealing with the disjunction in this video, which is symbolized most commonly by the wedge. Now, let's talk about the way that the operator is defined. The symbolic logic notation for the connectives operate on sentences, whether they are simple, that is, irreducible, or compound. Talking about this will help us to understand what it means to define the possible truth values of the disjunction. So we have the dryer is not working or the power is out. Walter or Stewie is a dog. If you don't have a key to the door, you can't get into the room or the door is unlocked. Horatio and Ella or Aloysius and Brett are dogs. So determining under what conditions each of these sentences is true and under what conditions they are false requires that we know the possible truth values of the simple or atomic sentences, along with the truth definitions of the operators and the order of applying those definitions to sentences with multiple operators. The truth definition of the disjunction is determined by the sentences upon which the wedge or disjunction operates, along with the meaning of the connective itself. So let's look at the function of the disjunction to help us understand its meaning. The disjunction affirms that at least one of the disjuncts is true. So let's take a look at how that plays out in a truth table. We can help ourselves understand the definitions of the disjunction by thinking in terms of it as an answer to the question, how do I know if the sentence is true or false? A disjunction is true when at least one of the disjuncts is true, otherwise it is false. So, it doesn't matter if both of the disjuncts are true. As long as one of the disjuncts is true, the disjunction as a whole will be true. The reason why I emphasize this first row is because lots of times people think of the disjunction as being exclusive. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive, which is to say, the disjunction is true. Remember, when at least one of the disjuncts is true, both could be true. More on that in a minute or two. So, as long as one of the disjuncts is true, the disjunction is true. Otherwise, the disjunction is false. So when each of the disjuncts is false, that's row 4, the disjunction is false. Let's look at an example. Edgar or Mariella wears a hoodie several days a week. That sentence is true provided at least one of them wears a hoodie. So row 1, row 2, and row 3. When it's not the case that Edgar wears a hoodie, that is, when it's false that Edgar wears a hoodie, when it's false that Mariella wears a hoodie, It's false to say one or the other does. Let's go back to row number 1. We say that Edgar or Mariella wears a hoodie when it's true that at least one of them does. So suppose that we know that Edgar wears a hoodie. We know then that the or is true, the disjunction is true. The fact that it may be the case that Mariella does wear a hoodie, row 1 and 3, or doesn't, row 2, is irrelevant to the fact that the disjunction is true, provided that at least one wears a hoodie is true. I hope this video has helped you understand the answer to the question, what are the truth definitions for disjunction?